Am I the a-hole for telling my father to live with his choices? I, 23 male, I'm the oldest of 3. My younger sisters are 20 and 18. When I was 10, our father left our mom when she got sick. It really upset the family because he told us having a sick spouse wasn't something he would cope with, and it would have ended their marriage anyway. Our mother got better when he told us it was because he left. He and I got into huge fight about it because I knew it was BS, and a spouse leaving you doesn't mean you'll beat cancer. A couple of years after he left our mom, he remarried. Then when my father's wife was 5 months pregnant, we found out mom's cancer was back in progress quickly and passed away 4 months later. The day before she died, our father's wife went into labor. We fought with this on staying with our mom. He wanted us with him, but he didn't want to leave his wife and miss the birth of their child. But we wanted to be with our mom, not her. I was 14 at that time. Our father showed up 6 hours after our mom died and told us and it was time to come home, that there was a party and we needed to be ready for the next day. His choices led us not wanting to live with him, and we all got out as soon as we could, much to his annoyance. My youngest sister leaving was the final straw for him, and he told me we had no right to walk away from our family, from our parents and younger siblings. I told him his wife was not our parent, and if he wanted to blame something, he should blame himself and the choices he made. That he's choosing to leave our mom because she was sick, lied about him being the reason she got better, and then choosing to fight us on leaving our mom when she was dying because he didn't want to leave his wife, and ultimately not being there for us during that is what we're here. And to say we shouldn't abandon him might be how he feels, but we feel very different. He told me she would have survived as long as he hadn't left her. I asked him why it wasn't his fault she died then. If he could cure her once, why not again? That we both know it's BS. It was not him the things I wasn't asked to him in that conversation. So do some of my aunts and my uncles on that side. They always figured we were too hard on him for his choices and that we should have embraced the new instead of being angry over the old. Am I the a-hole?
Therapist is also Tahir. If they know you got grounded for expressing yourself in a supposedly safe space, that is not cool. Op says therapist knows about the grounding. I think the therapist should make Op and sibling feel safe to express their thoughts and has an obligation to show the father how his behavior is harmful, both the grounding and the original transgressions. Therapy has no value if patients don't feel safe to say what they're feeling. That said, I'm a physician, not a therapist. Hope your brother gets out soon. Punishing you both for stuff said in therapy, what a couple of jerks. Dad, you blew it. Stepmom, back off, you want to be family, why didn't you try for acquaintance first? Sounds like your parents will punish you both, regardless of what either of you do or do not say. At that point, you and your brother should just completely unload on your dad and stepmom or never talk again except to say you want private counseling without them. What will they do? Ground you as for the future. Your brother will probably be gone as soon as he turns 18. Make sure you both have a way to contact one another that does not involve the adults. If you can stand it and do not think it will harm you, you might want to start a part-time job, get all your important papers together, save money, and get out with your brother, or as soon as you turn 18 as well. Good luck, Op. Stay strong. ETA, NTA. Indeed, this is one of the cases where the surviving parent decides that their children has to play happy little family after they have moved on from other parents' death faster than one could say cat, without even considering their children's feelings about it. In other words, Op's dad and his new wife thinks that they have to do family therapy. When Op and her brother doesn't count new wife as a family. She is just someone who have tried to play their mother for nearly a decade, without realizing that she is practically failing at it. You cannot make someone like, or in this case, love you, if the said someone don't want to have anything to do with you. NTA, Op, NTA. Please get yourself and your brother out of the house ASAP, because your father and his wife clearly don't give a flying crap about your feelings. Your dad sounds pretty narcissistic, to be honest, so. You talked about your true feelings that weren't what we as your parents want them to be. You're grounded. And your brother is grounded too, because he didn't say anything is stupid, and it indeed undermines the therapy. Which in itself is useless when the parent still doesn't give a flying crap about Ops and her brother's feelings, frankly. As a stepmother, this absolutely boils my blood. I'm typing angry, so PLS forgive any mistakes here. Next therapy session, I recommend you take control of it. Start the session by telling them all. I don't feel I can express how I feel here, as last time I was honest, my brother and I were punished for it. Then ask the therapist how effective therapy is when the people in it are punished for talking about their feelings. I'd also turn it round to your dad and ask him what exactly the aim of the therapy is. Open and honest communication. He needs to stop punishing you for opening up then. Why are you doing it as a family? Specifically, does he accept that he and his wife have handled things inappropriately too, or is he just there to monitor what you're saying to your therapist? I'm sorry, I'm so angry about this for you. I'm a stepmother and would never dream of behaving like this. They both should have given you space to grieve. I expect that even if they had decided to get married after 6 months, if they'd dealt with this better, you'd feel a lot better about it. Now. In case there is any doubt, NTA. Ironically, the family therapy your dad wants to use to bully his children into validating him is also the best place to fight against this abuse. And yes, it is abuse for someone to ask their child their opinion, anywhere, let alone in therapy, than to punish them if they don't like the opinion. It would be good if you can contact the therapist to give her a heads up regarding the following, but you need to walk into the next session and make it clear that the only thing you are prepared to talk about is that you were punished for telling the truth, and that is not acceptable. Try to keep your language as polite as possible. Not that your father deserves it at this stage, but don't let the conversation be derailed by accusations of rudeness. Only after your father acknowledges that his reaction to the opinion that he directly asked for is totally unjustifiable can any of the actual issues affecting your family even begin to be addressed. Punishing you for telling the truth about how you feel when you were directly asked for the truth about how you feel in a setting expressly established so that people can tell each other the truth about how they feel is not merely intellectually indefensible and morally reprehensible, but actually insane. That makes complete sense. You are in an awful situation. It makes me feel sick to think of my own daughter being in your situation at your age. She's only 7 now, and I so wish your dad, or stepmom, were capable of loving you unselfishly and seeing your pain instead of their own. I'm angry they don't feel protective of your emotional well-being the way a parent should. You deserve better. Hang on to that thought, because it's true, and what they are saying is self-serving and dishonest. Needing to do it as a family is just code for wanting to be in control. Invoking family ties is a sign someone is trying to manipulate you, in my experience, because you're setting a boundary. Being a teenager is fucking difficult. This is the hardest time in your life, because you have the least control. Your hormones are changing constantly, and you're trying to navigate all that in a social media-driven nightmare previous generations can't fathom. If it's possible, and I know it's so hard with what you're being put through, try and be a little unit with your brother, so you can support each other. Show him this thread, if it might help you bond. You both need a safe space in your home. You will be free of this in a few years, but that is stone cold comfort, I know. You will be able to walk away and get therapy, and I'm just so sorry your mother isn't here to take pride in how you're standing up for yourself, because I'm sure she would. You're mothering yourself, which you shouldn't have to, but well. Fucking. Done. I chose to believe your mother's death was equally as hard on your dad, but that he did most of his grieving before the actual loss of her life. There are many scenarios where that may be true for a widow, but that the nuance means that the children don't have the same understanding of the situation for that early process to start. It was self-centered and thoughtless of him to fail to consider that, and especially for him to leave it so long before doing something as obvious or simple as therapy, or, I'd like to say that. But apparently your dad said no individual therapy. Then my dad said we're doing it as a family, so we can be a family. So clearly, he's still not thinking about you at all. It's about making your dad and your stepmom feel happy and satisfied, and to let them play happy families. He's thinking about how this inconveniences him. He's thinking about how this upsets his wife, and how she makes his life uncomfortable as a result. He's thinking that you're a problem to fix. He's not thinking about how you feel or what you need, and I don't think he listened to you in therapy at all. Fact he doesn't realize that individual sessions to process the anger you feel would help his happy family scenario is evidence that he's either too narcissistic to consider your perspective in the slightest, or that he's afraid of what you'll say in front of the therapist when he's not there to explain away your words. Does the therapist actually know that you have both been grounded for the fact that you shared and your brother kept quiet? Like she's aware that he's grounded you for participating in therapy that he's forced you to attend. If she isn't, please make her aware of it immediately at the next session, okay? She should help try to put a stop to that, or she will cancel having your dad as a client. Tell her flat out that he's punishing you for being honest and that he's punishing your brother for not opening up yet. Point out to her very clearly that the very fact you're in therapy is causing you active harm due to your father. It is absolutely unethical for her to continue therapy if it is causing harm to you. Grounding and punishment are causing you harm. It is not the expected emotional pain of dealing with tough topics that's expected and is what therapy is meant to help. But your dad is punishing you. Please ask the therapist directly if it's ethical for her to continue when it's causing you and your brother to be punished. Your dad is going to be pissed off. He's going to try to cut the conversation off and even possibly lie. But you are currently getting no benefit from counseling, and the counselor needs to make it. Maybe it's the huge cynic in me, but I have a feeling this person may not be a licensed therapist. My parents didn't want me to go to therapy so bad that they picked a family counselor who was most definitely not licensed, who told me they wouldn't and couldn't talk to me unless I agreed to let my biological dad and stepmom in the room, the people abusing me. The fact that this therapist barely says a word and hasn't acknowledged that the children are being punished simply for going to these sessions is really appalling to me.